remember sitting in the back of a cop car thinking my life was over. I know what it's like to be broken and depressed, but God completely changed my life. So if you've ever felt ashamed of your past, like God couldn't use you, then this story is for you. So God has been asking me to share my testimony for over a year, and I keep putting it off, but I really want to share how God took me from broken, depressed, the lowest I've ever been, my hugest setback, to my purpose and being close to Him and loving Him, and joy and peace that passes all understanding. Started at a time in my life when I was actually excited for life. I was doing well, as the world would say. I had made a lot of changes. I was working out. I just got a job in Dallas and I was moving, and I was so excited about moving. And I was really excited about life. But there were a few things holding me back in my faith that was just not good. And so basically, it all started one day. I grew up in church. I was saved at a young age, but I was caught between serving God on Sunday, feeling His presence on Sunday, and then every weekend would come, and I would just get stuck into this party lifestyle, and it just became a cycle where I thought in my mind, like I was trying to do my own thing. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to find a man, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have fun with my friends. I'm just going to have a couple. But it never turned out that way. It's like a cycle of going to a bar or club, intending to have a few drinks, and then just overindulging. And then the next day I would feel hungover, shame, regret. I would be asking God for forgiveness, and I would just feel such condemnation. I feel like there was a little bit of conviction, but also condemnation and shame that the enemy used. And but by the world standards, I was doing well. I was excited for life. And I remember one day, the only thing that made me feel better when I was hungover and just feeling terrible about myself was I would go to like a park or somewhere out in nature, and I would walk my dog. And one day I was walking in nature and I just stopped because I noticed the fall leaves. There was this beautiful landscape, and the fall leaves were slowly, one by one, reaching the ground. And I just felt God say, there's beauty in death. And at the time, I didn't know what that meant, but it was a stark God talking to me moment. And then literally a week later, I made the decision to have some drinks with some friends, and I made a really bad decision to drive that day. I found myself getting a DUI that night. And when I tell you that it was the lowest of lows, it was the lowest of lows. I felt so ashamed, and I felt like a failure. I felt like my life was over. I was just so depressed. Looking back to that night, I remember I was trying to go to sleep that night, and I kept waking up hyperventilating. My parents had to pick me up from jail, and I just kept hyperventilating. Every time I would wake up, it was like a nightmare that I couldn't redo. And I had all these big dreams of moving to Dallas and finding my husband and finding these great friends and traveling the city. And in one stark moment, it was just gone. At that point, I just remember crying out to God and just being at the lowest of low, And I felt like I couldn't see the light. That was the thing. I was so depressed that I couldn't see the light. My vision of the next year was no license, no friends. I'd be all alone. And God completely changed my life in that moment, but I didn't even realize it. That's what brought me back to Him, but I'll get there. So I moved to Dallas. I couldn't drive. I was really depressed. And I remember talking to my mom on the phone, and she was like, I'm just so glad that you were alive, that you made it and you're okay. And I remember thinking, like, I wanted to die that night. Like, I wish I would have died. That's how depressed I was. That's how low I was. And I just couldn't see the light. Like, I couldn't see from the darkness. It was only darkness. But I made a decision that day. I was like, I've got to find people that are going to support me. I've got to find people that are not drinking and partying and are living for God. And I found a really supportive community that helped me and wanted to see me succeed. My friendships in the past were people that really didn't want to see me succeed. So when I found that, it was just so helpful. And slowly but surely, God took me through this process of renewing my mind, transforming my life, decluttering my home, and ultimately feeling really close to Him and finding my purpose. And so for anyone struggling, maybe you're struggling with a divorce, maybe you're struggling with just a huge setback, or just something where life just feels over, God will take you to your lowest point. It's usually in your biggest setback that you get your biggest comeback. And I would not have found my purpose and this peace and this joy that I have had I not gone through that.